the one to beat. Obviously, that's not a great statement. That's one I think everybody will. And then we're going to see later on in the Classic, of course, the build up for that. Code of Honor is in there. McKenzie is in there. One of those are certainly in the running. Vino Rosso has stepped up and could be a horse of the year contender. That's what makes this a fun day of racing. We're going to see Bricks and Mortar on the turf. Sister Charlie, who's just been spectacular, is running today. And that's what this is all about. Imagine if they had all the baseball playoffs in one day. Everybody's involved in it. It comes down to, the end of the day, what's happening. That's really kind of like a Breeders' Cup Championship Day, guys.
Yeah, they call it Championship Saturday for a reason, right?
Exactly. That is exactly it. Because you go out of that race, then you go into the turf sprint, which is a race that's, fun. Stormy Liberal is back. What a talented horse. Beach is going to run. Of course, remember, was the favorite going into the Kentucky Derby, got injured, didn't race in the Derby, has come back since then, looked great out here, winning at Santa Anita, back on home track, and is running today in that one. Improbable is also in that race. You might remember from the Derby and the Preakness. Always seems to have gait problems, but he's going to be running in that one as well. You can kind of go down the list to the Filly and Mare Turf, which is the next race coming up, and that's where Sister Charlie runs for Chad Brown, who's a genius on the turf, just like his mentor Bobby Frankel was. And then we move. The hits just keep coming. It's kind of like listening to the Thomas Kenny and Scott Hall playlist, just hit after hit.
That's right.
And then Matoli in the sprint. Although I'm interested in Hog Creek Hustle, who is a 20-1 shot in this race. And I am a little biased in there. Mickey Martin is one of the owners. We grew up about 10 miles apart. And I've known him for years and years and years. He has a piece of this Hog Creek Hustle, who's a really nice 3-year-old. They were hoping to get him in the Derby. It didn't work out. Shorter distances are better for him. And Imperial Hint, who's just a really game horse, is in this as well. So the sprint's always wide open. It looks like Matoli would be the favorite in there, and you couldn't knock that. And then we continue on with the Breeders' Cup Mile today. You take a pick in that one. Probably Uni with Chad Brown would be the one that I think has the best shot in that race. But we saw some really upsets yesterday, including a 45-1 shot in the juvenile. So who knows? Got Stormy is in there as well for Mark Cassie. I think that'll be a really exciting race as well. And you know what's going to happen? I mean, somebody's going to come up here and surprise everyone. The Distaff Street Band. We talked about medallion racing. Our friend Mark Stoops, the UK football coach, owns a little piece of this horse as well. But in this race, the horse that's gotten all the attention all year and is certainly in the running for Horse of the Year is Midnight Bijou, who's the favorite in this, as she should be for Steve Asmussen, and probably is the one to beat. And then that brings up the turf, and you get in the turf, and it's Bricks and Mortar. That's the one that stands out the most. Some of the Europeans trying to maybe knock an upset here. Arklow is in it. Coach Nurse, who is the head coach of the winning national championships, NBA championships, Toronto Raptors, is one of the owners of Arklow. Has a little piece of it, And then it brings us to the Classic. And in that one, it looks like it's Vino Rosso, Code of Honor, and then on his home court here, McKenzie. But is this a chance for War of Will? He gets back in the races now. He's a 20-1 shot coming in. The Preakness winner. Elate is in there. First time she's ever faced the boys. She's been really good against the mares, but now taking on the boys. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And the weather's nice, and the San Gabriel Mountains are in plain sight as I look across the track here with palm trees. And you never go wrong with palm trees. You wake up, you look out the door, you see palm trees. It's going to be a sunny day usually, and today it should be great weather.
Oh yeah,
that's what we like to hear.
We do. When I lived in Santa Monica, I actually had a palm tree in my backyard, and that was the coolest thing. It's probably one of the things I miss the most.
We need a palm tree in the studio.
We do. Hey, I'm on that.
But it's and it's fun just to walk around this track. Santa Anita was a Christmas present for horse racing fans. It was the first formally established racetrack in California. It opened in 1934 on Christmas Day, appropriately enough. Some, because of the architecture, were fascinated. It's Art Deco design. It's a beautiful grandstand. And again, the backdrop of the San Gabriel Mountains. And when it was built, it was in the time of the Great Depression. So this was more than a racetrack. It was kind of a symbol of hope that, big things could be still done in this country, and beautiful architecture could still be done. And then Seabiscuit came along not long after that and resonated with America. He became America's horse. And in the paddock, for those watching on NBC today, they'll see in the paddock the horses parading around, getting ready to get their jockeys up and go out. And the statue in there is the Seabiscuit statue. There's some others, including one of Zenyatta, several of the great jockeys like Shoemaker and Pinkai. They have their busts of them out here as well. And, so there's a lot of great history, and they've done a nice job. They've upped everything, talking about safety protocol. They've doubled the number of vets. There's about 30 vets that inspect every horse in these races at least 3 or 4 times during the course of the week. They are over at the barns this morning looking at the horses, making sure everything's okay. And, the safety precautions, just to, kind of reinforce the concern that these people have for horses, because this is their business. They want healthy horses. They want happy people. They don't want any controversy, and they certainly don't want any dead horses. It's it's a business, but the people on the backside, it's a real passion for them as well. It's a way for them to be employed, but it's also the care and love they have for horses. I think is similar to what you would have for your pet dog. There's a real love there. It's like a family member. So I think that's always important to kind of emphasize to people about horse racing as well. And I believe they've really made a great rebound from all the problems they had earlier in the year.
That's great to hear. What's the atmosphere outside the track? Is there anything you've seen as far as
No, surprisingly, no. I did not see it yesterday. And I just came in about 15 minutes ago to the track. I'm here at the NBC TV compound right now, and I didn't see any protesters. Wow. That's not to say that maybe later on today, some might be off Baldwin Avenue, for those that are familiar with it. There's a little there's a mall out here adjacent in the parking lot. Maybe somebody will be there, but as of right now, it's been surprisingly free. I'm happy to report that, and it's really been a nice kind of peaceful atmosphere. And yesterday the crowd was good, the racing was great, just everything you'd hope for on a big day.
That's good.
It's like you said, Kenny. Nobody wants to see a dead horse. So
no, they don't, Thomas. And it's hard to explain. I tell you what's been harder to explain is they still don't know the reason for everything that happened out here or happened at some of the other tracks. Some's just going to be the natural process, and sometimes it's a fluke thing. But there are issues, and I think it's been a great wake up call if a good can come out of this, and more attention's paid to it. And like I say, they've doubled the number of vets out here. They're taking care of business in a great way, and I think it's paid off. They can tell, and all the horse people know it. If they say this horse doesn't look right, we're going to scratch the horse, no questions asked, and that's what they'll do.
Safety it's the number one priority, both in a business perspective and just, for a love of the animals.
Exactly. And like I say, the people have a great love of the animals that work on these tracks. I don't know if people always realize that. Not everybody's a millionaire in the game. There's a lot of them, but not everyone and not every trainer is a Bob Baffert or a Todd Pletcher or a Chad Brown or Steve Asmussen, who's at the top of the game and gets great horses all the time and expensive horses. And so it means a lot to the people. And like you say, just from a business standpoint, of course you want a healthy horse. You want a horse that could win races and a horse then down the road for breeding. Mm-hmm. So no one has ever been cavalier about this. There's been some very unfortunate accidents and some unfortunate probably decisions made. Again, the hope is that there'll be better decisions made in the future, and maybe try to dissect this year and see what happened and try to come up with at least some idea of what happened. Because that's been the worst thing about it, is that obviously the horse deaths are the worst thing. There's no one that has a specific answer. Nobody can say exactly what's causing everything.
It'll most likely remain one of the unsolved mysteries of our time.
It could be, it could be. And it's certainly a number that's disproportionate to any other year. You just don't have this kind of You don't have these sad situations on an average year, as we know. And, again, the positive thing is it was a great day yesterday. The racing today is about deciding who's going to be horse of the year. Matoli in the sprint, Midnight Bijou in the distaff in the classic, McKenzie, Code of Honor, obviously in the running. Vino Rosso may step up with a big race. I think he can. And if he does, he kind of hops back in the picture. He finished actually ahead of Code of Honor his last race, but was disqualified. And then, for a bumping incident. And then, when you look at bricks and mortar, what a year. Turf horses don't always win it, but maybe. Sprinters don't always win it, but maybe Matoli can. An outside shot. But, it's going to be really interesting if Midnight Bijou wins and bricks and mortar win and Matoli wins and they all win in convincing fashion. And Sister Charlie, if she wins in convincing fashion, she's on an incredible hot streak. I mean, we're seeing one of the great fillies on turf in a long time. One of the greats of all time, I think. If all of them win, that'll really make it interesting, especially if the classic, which is usually an indicator of who's going to be horse of the year, if there's an upset in this, if it's not Code of Honor or McKenzie or Vino Rosso, it'll make for an interesting day. But that's why they line them up and race them.
That's right. Speaking of racing them, what time's everything kick off today, Kenny?
We'll be on the air at 3:30 on NBC Sports Network. It's 3:30 Eastern time. 12:30 Pacific, and from 3:30 to 8 o'clock Eastern time will be on NBC Sports Network, and then from 8 to 9 in prime time will be the Breeders' Cup Classic on NBC.
What's the first race?
First race is going to be the Filly and Mare Sprint. That's the first one we'll see with Kafefi. Yeah, I think everybody does. It's line them up and go. It's horse racing. It's horse drag racing. You just come out of the chute and you don't stop.
That's awesome.
And I think in all the sprint races, you're going to see that. Horses just going to come firing out of the gate. And, a closer is going to be close. So, you don't have that many coming way off the pace to win in this situation.
Right. What do we got after that?
So we go in order from there. We'll move on to the turf sprint. Look, even more for you to watch, Thomas.
There we go.
More exciting sprint. I think that's a pretty wide open race. Maybe Empress is at 9-2 is maybe the favorite in this race. 8-1, I think she is. I'm sorry, Eddie Haskell at 9-2 is the favorite in this race right now, which is a great name, by the way, for those that remember Leave It to Beaver.
That's right.
And then we go from there to the Dirt Mile, much anticipation about Omaha Beach. And then we move on to the Filly and Mare Turf, where we'll see the great Sister Charlie and see if she can cap off a sensational year with another victory. And then we're back to the sprint where Matoli will be running. And, and then right after that, we go to the mile. And then the mile is a race that I think will be a pretty wide open race. This could be one where you get a stunner in there. I believe if there's a big upset today, it will be in the mile. Upset be 15-1 or more.
Mm-hmm.
And and then get ready for the distaff and see if Midnight Bijou is, as everyone says, the best filly out there.
I think the distaff is definitely going to be one of the most exciting races today, just because it's so up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that people are going to enjoy watching her run. Street Band is in that, who's done really well. Serengeti Empress, remember her back in the Kentucky Oaks Blue Prize, who won at Keeneland to get here, is going to be in it. Then you got the Breeders' Cup Turf, where Bricks and Mortar, we'll see, is he the best? He's the 9-5 favorite coming into this. Arklow is an outside, not too far outside, but a 12-1 shot. There's a horse called Anthony Van Dyke coming. It's an Irish bred horse. Trained by the great European trainer Aidan O'Brien, is at 3-1, and then we close out with the Classic in prime time on NBC tonight, where you have Seeking the Soul, who is a long shot now, but remember won the Stephen Foster War of Will from the Preakness. Yoshida, who ran well last year, the Japanese horse who's been in the States a couple of years now training. Elate. Can the filly take on the boy successfully? And then Code of Honor, Vino Rossi, McKenzie, a horse named Higher Power is coming in here too off a nice win. So I don't think the Classic is cut and dried. I think this could be also a day of upset in the Classic. I'm not sure that. I think it'll be Code of Honor and Vino Rosso probably would be the two I would pick right now, with McKenzie third if I was picking in order.
Okay. I think it's going to be a great day of racing just because there's so many, variables out there today.
I agree.
Even in the races with prominent favorites, there's really no sure shots.
There's no sure shots. Have you been hearing anything about just anything about a long shot? Is there any mumble about a horse that really, hey, watch this guy?
I think in the sprint, if Matoli might be vulnerable, and in the sprint, I do think Hog Creek Hustle has a good shot.
Yeah.
He won't be out there right in the front, but he'll be real close as they will be in the sprint. And I do think that he could be the upset special of the day.
You
writing that down?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So what's in store for you next today, Kenny?
I'm getting ready to go into some meetings, and then we'll have some rehearsals, and then we'll be live on the air on NBC Sports Network. Not that far away. The day goes quick. It's a long day, but once you get going, it goes.
Right. Anybody you're assigned to particularly that you're interested in or have been?
Well, I'll be talking with Chad Brown with Sister Charlie.
Yeah.
And Bob Baffert with McKenzie. And those two, I'm really interested in both those horses.
Right.
And so that'll be two of my assignments today.
Good. We're going to be watching, man. We're excited.
Yeah. So we're all ready to go, guys.
Did you find anything good to eat around there last night?
Yeah, it's called room service.
I love it. Yeah. That's my favorite too.
Yeah, I've done a lot of that. I haven't left the city limits of Pasadena except to come here to Arcadia. That's it.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty cold back at the bunker here, so take in all that weather you can before you have to get back here Tuesday.
I will, guys.
All right. Well, keep us posted, Kenny, and anything else comes up, we can get you on. You know that, but now I think you got to go over with the big boys, and I wish you and your crew luck today.
All right. Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you, Thomas. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Again, I think it's going to be a really exciting day. And I hope you all hit those long shot picks out there that I'm probably going to miss. I like a lot of the favorites today.
Yep. I took good notes. Yeah, we will.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for this special edition from Santa Anita and the Breeders' Cup of the Horse Racing Show. We'll talk again next week.
Peace.